You're the healer of the group. The rest of the party has always treated you like you're made of glass. You were content to stay out of their way and let them do their thing. Until they all got downed, leaving you the only one standing. That's when you show them how deadly healing magic can be. The leader of the bandits stepped over Royce as he collapsed, holding in his intestines with both hands as he dropped the giant axe he normally wielded. Of course, as it turned out, they weren't really bandits, but an infiltration team from Mycena. A well-armed, highly trained, infiltration team. Royce and his team hadn't been out here to find soldiers of the Raven Empress, but rather wipe out a pack of Earth-cursed boars. Any natural animal got dangerous when they happened to absorb too much elemental energy, but ones with natural hostile tendencies like boars were even worse. Warnings of bandits in the same woods had just made the team greedy for extra loot. "Run," Vinceno called weakly, trying to keep his arm from completely falling off. Idly, she wondered if he had some kind of curse. This would be the fourth time his arm had been almost but not quite severed since she'd joined them, and that was only 2 months ago. As the leader of the soldiers approached her, she held up one hand, which he grabbed with his left hand. Sadly, the gauntlets he wore prevented her from making any skin contact. She would have to get creative. Camille hated getting creative. "You are the only woman in this band," the man said. "Our Queen of Night has heard many horrible tales of how the kingdom of Pilius treats its women. And I have heard many horrible tales of how the Raven Empress treats everyone in her lands," Camille said back. "Including instructing her armies to murder healers." He stared down at her, his hazel eyes narrowing as her brown eyes met him unflinching. "You're braver than most, give me your parole and come with us, and I swear upon my honor and rank that none of my men will harm you." Her face fell with pity for him, and he clearly misunderstood as she raised her other hand and rested it against his face. "I think not," she said. He tried to scream, only a harsh gurgling sound emerging. The weight of his armor tore through the thin strip of muscle and skin that was suddenly the only thing holding his left arm to his torso. He fell to the ground as his legs suddenly twisted, malformed as if from birth. One of the other soldiers stepped forward, driving his spear into her belly. Still with pity in her eyes, she pulled the spear deeper into herself, causing him to stumble forwards and letting her grab his wrist, touching bare skin between his glove and vambrace. 3 horrible slashes suddenly opened him up, shattering ribs and bearing his lung, or what was left of it, to the air. She pulled the spear back out as he dropped to the ground convulsing. Not a sign of the wound showed through the tear in her shirt, and if not for the blood staining the linen, it was as if she had never even been harmed. The third and fourth approached together, shields up, the hooked swords the Raven favorite held ready. The next 2 minutes were a brutal display of gore, as she was repeatedly stabbed and hacked, yet every blow vanished the moment the weapon left her skin. And she only needed to touch them to win. Eyes melted and flesh vanished as though an instant fire consumed the third soldier. 17 bones, including both femurs, shattered when she touched the fourth. Panting and cursing, she wiped blood splatter from her eyes, and triaged her team. Vinceno was moments from death, and as she placed the ragged stump of the almost severed arm back against his shoulder, the wound vanished. The blood loss would take longer, but she'd come back to him. As she approached Royce, however, he actually tried to back away, shoving backwards despite the shattered legs and 3 separate holes through his left arm. "Stay back," he said, his voice weak and wavering. "Royce, how am I to heal you if I don't touch you?" Camille asked. "You're no healer. No follower of Blaine could." "I don't follow the god of healing," she said. Looking around the clearing, she moved her over to one of the blood puddles and lifted a pendant and a broken chain from it. "I follow Horush, goddess of memory." He looked at the fallen soldiers who had ambushed them. "How does a memory kill a man?" She came back over and crouched beside him. "I make your body forget it was ever injured." Her hand reached out and grabbed his arm, poking through one of the rents in the tough leather. His legs straightened, the holes closed. She patted his cheek, smearing blood on it. "And I made theirs remember the injuries others forgot." His breath hissed through his teeth, and his muscles trembled as he held himself still. "And my sudden blindness?" He could not see her smirk as she rose to her feet and moved to fix lecture in his shattered spine. "That's because I'm wearing more blood than shirt, and even injured you still couldn't keep your eyes off my tits."